Right, so I'm sorry about the lighting. I'll move it here maybe so you can see who is talking, but then I have to hold my tablet, so I'll keep it here anyway. You know who's talking, as if it matters. But this is in response to English Jackass. He's uploaded some videos, and the reason to do response to his video is because he talked some sense. It looked like he was introspecting, on things, and he was exploring things. But then he uploaded a video saying that antinatalism is very short sighted, in a way, implying that it is wrong. So, this is a response to that video. I'll post the link in the description. So, what he said essentially was that antinatalism and voluntary human extinction movement are short sighted because it is impossible to get Earth rid of all sentient life. And even if, as voluntary human extinction movement says, humans go extinct, life would evolve again and it will be hell again for sentient beings. Well, the first thing is that he has confused terms big time. So I agree with him fully when he says that voluntary human extinction movement, which is an idea that we should leave Earth, we should leave the biomass as it is, and let the ecology flourish without humans. Earth is better without humans, which is incorrect idea, and it holds no water. So I agree with him. It is not only short sighted, but it is very narrow and wrong as far as reducing suffering is concerned. But he didn't stop there. He criticized antinatalism, and that is where the problem is. Antinatalism does not directly say that we should cause extinction of either humans or other animals. Antinatalism assigns a negative value to birth of a sentient being. It doesn't assign negative value to birth of only human beings or any other species, but a sentient being. Any being who can feel pain and who can suffer. Birth of such a being is not a good idea, is what antinatalism says. The consequence of that is that the obvious question is then this would lead to extinction of the species, whichever species we are talking about. And antinatalism then says that, yeah, that is fine. That is a better situation than, this continuous game of suffering. That's all antinatalism says. The extinction of humans or all life is not what antinatalism professes as a goal, but as a consequence. The goal is not to give birth. Your criticism can be applied to aphilism, although I'm going to talk about it. Aphilism says that life is inherently wrong, causes suffering, and should be ended. Okay. Now there can be two flavors of aphilism, depending on your perspective. One is that depending on the means you want to have. So one is that you end life through non-procreation. Okay. Other is you end life by killing. Now I'm not going to talk about ending life by killing. That is not something I support, and I don't think that is something you also were trying to criticize. So what you were trying to criticize was that even ending life with non-procreation is impossible because we don't have means and technology to end all life through non-procreation on the earth, because there is always a possibility of a life coming back. First thing is that we haven't tried. Okay. It is rather we are trying in another direction. It's a natalist society. It is always, birth is treated as the most positive thing ever one, thing can happen to one's life, and death is treated as most negative thing. So we haven't tried, we don't know. I believe that if a real effort is taken by convincing people, not just not to procreate, but by having good government programs, and to do research such that uh, all of the animals, including humans, can be sterilized, um, and then technological innovations can be done such that microbial life can be radiated out. So I don't think it is not possible. Only thing is we have not even tried. So to say that it is short-sighted is a bit of defeatist attitude. That's the first thing. Secondly, practical difficulties does not render a principle wrong or short-sighted. To say that peace policies are short-sighted because not only have we not achieved peace all over the world, but there is always a theoretical possibility, a mathematical probability of peace getting disrupted given an infinite amount of time. You can't say that, right? You can't. That does not render peace policy or the idea that peace is good wrong or short-sighted. Similarly, antinatalism and aphilism can't be said as short-sighted. So yeah, and first of all, antinatalism in itself is, it's an idea. Now, how to achieve it and what are the consequences of it is a completely different matter. Okay, you can criticize the means of it and policies to achieve it as short-sighted, but not the idea as short-sighted. Then he also says that he had children, and and that gave him pleasure, even though he didn't expect to have children. He had them eventually, and that gave him a family unit, sort of environment which was pleasurable and which was a good thing for him. Now, yeah, it was pleasurable, but that is short-sightedness. Okay, what you're saying is I care about my pleasure. You didn't look at the consequence of it. You had children, and now they are going to have children, and this is going to continue for another 1,000 years, and see how much sentient beings you've created and how much suffering you've created. So that is short-sightedness. He also says that imposing, if you have to achieve, um, if you really have to have some sort of progress in aphilist movement, you would have to impose um, your ideas upon other human beings, which is also part of suffering. Now, no antinatalist in his right mind would suggest that we would forcibly sterilize human beings. The correct way to do it is to convince people. I know theoretical possibility, probability of happening is very small. Nonetheless, that does not mean it is wrong. To convince human beings, to convince people the idea of antinatalism, and then ask them to voluntarily get them sterilized. What else was there? Oh yeah, he also mentioned the other option, that why not, so if this is not happening, why not just create total net pleasure, right? So yeah, obviously you have not seen, you have overlooked the asymmetries. First of all, there is a stark asymmetry between pleasure and pain. Okay, a severe pain is way more painful than the most pleasure is pleasurable. That's a basic asymmetry. This also leads to the asymmetry of procreation, that even if what you're doing is you're trying to create net pleasure, but for whom? The being who is going to be born is not yet born, is not deprived of that net pleasure. So that net pleasure is unnecessary. But then suffering which could have been avoided is now there if you bring that being into existence. So those two asymmetries you completely overlooked and they answer your question. So that's all. Sorry about the light. This is I was talking. Okay.